Hey friends, my name is Mitch, and I'm going to do a review of the third printing of D-Day at Omaha Beach by John Butterfield. So, it is a solitaire game, which always makes for an interesting game, right? Because how do you balance that fine line between difficult but not impossible, replayability, you want some randomness but not so random that you feel like you're just getting shoved here and there, etc. I mean, that's quite a feat to make a solitaire game, but luckily you're in the capable hands of John Butterfield for this particular one. So there's a series of D-Day games. This is the Omaha Beach. I believe it's the original one. So it says 2017 is the third printing of this. And let's take a look at what you get from Mr. Butterfield and Decision Games. So as you can see, I'm sort of mid-game here, just sort of playing around. The board is just beautiful. So this is mounted board. It does have slight warping, but nothing substantial. I put some books on it, and it fixed it for the most part. It looks great. The map is very colorful and functional. It is very busy around where you sort of land on the beach and whatnot, but that's by design. So I think it looks really good. Counters are okay. I did have some issues getting them out of the sprue. I actually had to razor a few rows because they were peeling as I was taking them out, but it wasn't like I had to razor both sprues or anything like that. So, beautiful board, pretty decent looking counters. Let's look at what you get. The first thing you get is their greatest day, sort of just a historical document here. It goes over the landing forces and all of this stuff. By the way, if you haven't seen Saving Private Ryan, you can watch the opening scene on YouTube. A bunch of people have posted it. So you sort of get an idea of how poorly this went originally. So a lot of lives lost, etc. So it goes into pretty good detail about the different aspects of it, the people involved and whatnot. So it's a nice little supplement here, 40 pages. Again, a little color supplement that comes with the game. So this covers sort of a historical aspect for it. So the next thing you get is the rules booklet, which is indeed in color, and it consists of, looks like about 40 more pages. So different rules. It's got some nice color pictures in it. It does go over everything quite well. Luckily, this game is fairly simple. So basically, you're just going to be crawling up the beach towards here and trying to avoid getting shot down by the fortified Germans. The map is broken down into two sections. You have the west section, which is on the right. Then you have the east section, which is on the left. And since it's a solitaire game, you have an AI that you compete against, which in this case is the Germans, and you do that with cards. Some games have charts and dice. This one has cards. So let's look at an overly simplified view of how to play, and then let's go deeper in. You land on the beach with your units, and you effectively want to creep up the beach and creep farther in and take over. So how you do that is you hit the beach right here in the amphibious operations phase. Then you do your landing checks. Units land. Later on you can have drift, where your units could drift in a certain direction, a certain amount of hexes or a certain amount of spaces. And then you get a chance to move after the Germans get a chance to shoot at you. So the Germans, again overly simplified, the Germans have a you know, protected position. They have heavy artillery and they're shooting at you, and you're in the water trying to get onto the beach. Obviously, you're at a severe disadvantage, so you do have a lot of units lost. So you effectively just want to be creeping up. So the colors in here represent the arc of fire from this particular position. So sort of like this. So this particular guy's arc of fire is about like that. Obviously, if you're way, way over here, then some guy way, way over here is not going to have a good shot at you. Therefore, his arc of fire is not going to hit you. And so when you see purple, you see these colors. That is just the arc of fire for this particular position. Same thing here with the orange. Again, you see the arc of fire. Now, you'll notice the circles, some are solid, some are not solid, etc. Those represent different levels of shot. Obviously, this guy, his best shot is not going to be when you're 9 million yards away. He's not going to have a good shot. As you approach, he's going to have a really good shot at you right about at this point. So that's what that represents. Obviously, as you get up and closer, here's a 45 position, but now you're inside his 45 position. It's not going to be as optimal for him to shoot at you as, you know, right about the middle section right here. So your chits, you have some for tanks, you have some for infantry, etc. And they have a lot of symbols on them. We'll go over what that is in a minute. But again, this is just a high-level overview. So at a certain stage, you get a chance to shoot at the Germans after they have already shot at you. In addition to drifting, when you get shot, you can be completely destroyed and sink, or you can be delayed, which basically means come back 3-4 turns later, you know, and come back to the start kind of thing. So that's delayed. Once you get a chance to shoot at them, you can disrupt them so they can temporarily stop shooting as you creep along the beach. So that's the basic idea, super high level overview. So let's get down to how the AI works. So like I said earlier, you have different sequences of the game. The first is the amphibious operation where you land, and you'll notice you have 3 different card spots for drawing a card and laying it down. The first card spot is for the east, and the next card spot is for the west, and then the last card spot for this phase is an event card. So you effectively draw a card and handle the actions for the east, for the landing check, and then a different card for the west, and then a different card for the event. And then you have the German phase, and then you have other phases with additional card draws later. But this is how the AI handles their actions, is through cards. And you do have a lot of interesting aspects in this as well, because when you go to attack them, you need certain weapons to be able to defeat them. If you don't have that, then you're in trouble. You do have landmines that you have to worry about, so you need to get your engineers in there and get them cleared. You do have sort of an arc of fire from the different fortified positions, etc., etc. So a lot of weird, cool stuff in here that I really enjoyed. Here's the rest of the manual. Pretty good detail about everything, as well as an introduction to the extended game. So you have various levels of introduction. For example, you'll have a game where you just play this one side, so you don't have to deal with 2 sides. So you'll just play this one side, you'll go through all of the motions and just a few turns, etc., etc. And then next mission, you'll go through both sides. So now you have to navigate both sides, get your troops in, get your tanks up the beach, etc., etc. You do have things like climbing the walls to get into where you can attack the enemies and whatnot. You also get charts. Luckily, they're easy charts. They're not really all that complex. It's not like some of the very complex charts that I've seen in other games. These are black and white. Luckily, there are other ones that you can download. Let's show that from Board Game Geek. A lot of people have made some great charts that you can use, color charts if you'd like, instead of these for landing result tables, etc. So you'll notice that this box is blank, and it should not be blank. So, I mean, it would behoove you to download the charts from Board Game Geek. Here is the German fire chart, U.S. weapons charts, along with the extended game, sort of an introduction to that, and explanation for it. Basic game, the different phases, a walkthrough of all your different things, as well as the introductory scenario, Easy Fox, which I'm sort of playing here. I just messed it up, but whatever. Easy Fox, the setup for Easy Fox, special scenario rules, etc. So the AI is controlled with these cards. Card stock is fairly thin. This is not like a deluxe, super thick card that you see on the other games. I mean, it's fairly thin, but it's laminated and it's okay. So it would be nice for you to, definitely if you're going to play this a lot, sleeving is probably recommended here. So the cards have 3 different sections on them, or possibly 4 in some cases. You'll have the landing section here, the event section with different turns. So this is turn 2 through 10, 11 through 31, and then you have the German fire phase, etc. Then you have the letters for the extended game, and then you have the bottom section down through here, as well as the card number. So also get the U.S. action summary where you can do your various actions. And then once you are done with all of that, you come up here and you put your various cards in their sections. So you have a section for West Sector, Landing, East Sector, etc. And you have a nice flow of the game here where you have the basic game sequence. And then over here you have the German fire phase, etc. And then here are your turns. And so you're going to queue up the units that are going to come next in your turns over here. So for example, here's turn 3 units, turn 4 units. This says 1 on it because he got delayed. He got shoved off the map, so you had to put him over 2. So this is turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, etc. And then as you progress, you'll have a higher tide. So it starts out with low tide, and then you're going to go to mid tide, and then at a certain point, you will shuffle your cards, and then over here you have high tide. And then here is the extended game and beyond, over here in turn 17. So you do have quite a bit of turns that you can do, especially with the extended game and all of that. And as you can see, you have your positioning for tactical reinforcements, so the Germans can indeed get a bunch of reinforcements on the map, to battle you and to kill you off, etc. So let's take a little look at the map here. So you can see, I mean, it is very, very colorful. It looks great. The colors are vibrant, and the map has a lot of information. Like, for example, you have your terrain key here, and all the different types of terrain. When you lose some infantry, you're going to put it over here. Now, you do have limits on how many infantry you can lose before you pretty much have a catastrophic loss. And then you have your sections over here. So these are, well, FG1, 2, 3, etc. And then as your tide changes, you don't want any units to be too low or you will lose those units. So again, the map looks just fantastic. You can see here. The chits are about average. So you can see the width of the chits, or the thickness of the chits there. So they're well printed, they look good, they're functional, they're thick enough, they're not like super thin. I know I read somewhere that some of the earlier editions of some of these games, the chits were like super, super thin, but I don't see that as a problem here. They do contain all the information you need. They do have step losses, so here you have 2 steps, and then if you turn it over, you have one step, etc. So step losses are handled by flipping them over. Some units, many units, have a regular chit and then a lost chit, to where you can start with two, or start with three, you flip it over, like here, you start with three, you flip it over, you have two, and if you go below two, you have a special chit with a bar across it that will be your heavy lost chit. So right here, you can see it only has one unit, or one step, and that is your heavier lost chits. And those are mixed in as well. So you do get two sprues worth of chits, I think totaling 352, and the map board itself is 34 by 22. So it's not too large to where you're going to need just a massive table for it, and it is one map, which is convenient as well. So overall, I'm going to give this a straight A. I mean, it's rated 4th right now in Board Game Geek's top war games. So definitely a position well deserved. It has everything that you could possibly want in a game, as far as plenty of action, lots of challenge. And one of the great things that I like about this game is that you have absolutely no clue what's going to happen. So you'll have one game where you just did terrific and you made your way up the beach with no issues and you just demolished the Germans and no problems at all. And then the next game you'll suffer just amazing losses over and over and over. Like you'll start out with 4 tanks and then you will lose all of them. So you'll have nothing. I mean, that does happen occasionally. So, I mean, you'll have, like it says, catastrophic loss here, and sometimes you'll just completely lose the game just for random reasons. But it's definitely challenging. It's not something that you're going to start and win every time, nor is it something that you'll never win. So you pretty much have to sort of luck out in many regards, but overall it's just a fantastic game. I think this put me back $50. That was money well spent. Definitely get your money's worth on this. The replayability is just insane because of the fact that you never have any idea what's going to happen. So, I mean, I'll watch a YouTube video of some guy playing, and his game is completely different than mine. So, which is rare. I mean, most of the time you watch a YouTube video and you'd be like, okay, I sort of get the feel of how this game's going to go, but you have no idea what's going to happen. It's very, very different every time you play. So that's exciting. I mean, you break it out. Again, I mean, it's a small board. It's a mounted board. You can break it out and put your chits down. You can have them organized by, like I do here, by first wave, second wave, third wave, etc. So you can get your setup done pretty quick and then be playing and in no time. So it's a nice solitaire game, sort of casual, not a ton of rules, so it's pretty manageable as far as rules are concerned. Overall, excellent game, well worth the money. And if you can pick up a copy with the mounted board and the decent thickness chits, I think you'll be extremely happy. Definitely a good solitaire game. Deservedly, number 4 right now, at least on Board Game Geek. So that is just a quick overview of D-Day at Omaha Beach.